Welcome to another episode of Market Overdrive. I am your host, residential real estate broker with Coldwell Banker. My name is Karla Mina. And with me, as always, every Thursday, whether I like it or not, mostly not, is my co-host, co-founder, founder. I saw those posts.
That's right.
They called you the founder of Market Overdrive. I guess I just don't do anything when it comes to Market Overdrive.
This conversation once again. I am the founder of iLoan, and mortgages is my specialty, but I'm also the founder of the name Market Overdrive, in case you forgot.
How do we come up with that
story? We were in the room, and
I
founded
not
the
in the
name.
Room. I think Graco should be here to be the third person.
I'll give you, you founded the concept, I founded the name.
I founded the awesomeness that is
You can't even find your clothes in the morning. Let's move on to our guests.
With me this Thursday is my beautiful co-host and the wonderful Mimi Luna. How are you, Mimi?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. You look fantastic as always.
Thank you.
Look at that lipstick.
Mimi
She's
Luna
glossy.
Of the Lux Group at Coldwell Banker.
Yes.
Coldwell Banker family. Good to see you.
Good to see you. And we have some other guests in the room that we need to get to because we have a full house today. 5 microphones are live today. You know how much I love when we do 5 microphones live?
I know you love
it's
it.
Like one of my
You're
favorite
welcome.
things ever.
Yes.
Denise, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but it's Edenhofer.
There you go.
Denise Edenhofer of Fidelity National Home Warranty.
Yep.
Now, Denise, this isn't your first time on Market Overdrive. You did a show a couple of years back, and it was specifically the topic of home warranties, which is something that I think we don't discuss enough, to be honest with you, because it's more and more popular than we think it is. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. I mean, I think that in order for us to get to Denise, though, we do need to introduce our next guest because I think they come in perfectly together for this part of the transaction.
That's all you.
I'm going to mess up your name, though.
Because she messes up everybody's
No,
name.
I do not. Hamza?
Hamza.
Hamzi.
Hamzi, my sister calls me.
Hamzi.
That's a nickname.
There you go.
Hamzi.
Hamza Khan.
Hamza Khan.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Hamza Khan.
And the name of your company is?
Pillar to Post Inspections.
Say that again for me.
Pillar to Post Inspections.
Pillar to Post Inspections. All right, I get it. Good stuff.
Love it. Well, today's topic is very important for those of you who are in the process of buying a property. It is one of the most, I think, scariest or one of the scariest part of a transaction when you're buying something, how to protect that investment, right? Because you're spending so much money. This is the biggest purchase of your life. You're going to get tied down to a 30-year commitment. And God knows, a lot of people have commitment issues these days.
I'm getting married.
I wasn't talking about you.
Because typically you're always referring to me.
Not today, unless you really want to.
I like how you made it scary. The biggest purchase of your life, and you literally scared anybody that want to buy a home away just now.
But a lot of people
you
are
didn't get
always
scared of marriage, so we're good.
No.
Can we focus?
But we're here to make it not so scary. That's the purpose of our 2 guests today. One protects us to make sure we don't get into a bad marriage with this 30-year fixed mortgage, right?
Absolutely.
And the other one's kind of like, a guaranteed divorce attorney. She's basically like, you know what? If you screwed up and you bought the wrong mail, then at least I'm here to fix it, right? So you guys are like peanut butter and jelly, but better.
There you go.
Thank you.
Where do you come up with all this craziness?
Like kibbles and bits.
You know what happens when he sleeps? Nick wasn't feeling very well.
I wasn't good for 2 days, but now I feel
he's
I
back.
feel like I got rocket fuel in me, so I'm not sick
That's
anymore.
because you're with me and Carla.
Yes,
There
of
you
course.
go.
It's always happy. But yes, thank you so much for coming out. I know you guys are busy, and believe it or not, even though it's a little quiet out there because it's cold, you guys are busy. I mean, we were just at a home inspection. Was it Tuesday or?
Yeah.
Tuesday. But that's very important because I think every buyer, regardless of whether you're buying, to move in as an investment, you always want to do a home inspection. Never, even if you're buying new construction, you always want to do a home inspection. Can you walk us through the expectations?
Yeah, so basically a home inspection is the entire exterior, the entire interior of the home, all the mechanicals, the appliances as well. I climb all the roofs I can physically climb, because I'm telling you that you find missing shingles or, areas that need attention.
Shingles.
And, so I try to do that for the clients. They expect a lot of clients, they don't want an inspector to,
Just put a camera up there?
Yeah, or fly a plane.
Right.
So I do things the old school way. Basically, I inspect everything in the home. I walk into the attics. I educate my clients. A lot of home inspectors, they prefer not having the home buyers walk with them. but I actually encourage it just because I can
Really?
share with them. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people want to do it, their job, and then explain all the details they found or the potential issues. But I encourage that clients walk with me throughout the entire inspection.
Now, slow us down for a minute because we just had I think it was a couple shows ago where one of our guests emphasized that the inspections are extremely important, but don't overanalyze it and destroy your deal over it as well. And I think that as your job, you have to find everything that needs attention.
Right.
But some of it is very important and probably should break a deal in some cases. If you find a massive crack in the foundation, you might put a red flag up in the air. This is not the one to buy.
Correct.
But I'm talking about how we had somebody on the air saying that some potential buyers literally throw away the baby with the bathwater because they overanalyze the inspection.
There's a lot of inspectors that are alarmists, and especially for a first-time home buyer. You want to assure them that there's a reason why the home is standing for 50 years.
Yeah, they forget that.
They forget that.
Right.
Okay. And even today I got a call, foundation cracks. And I explained to the buyers, I told them that it's not that big of a deal. Like, the entire home is structurally sound. You just a couple cracks. So I never go
settling and
yeah, that's normal.
Right.
And I always educate the buyers, and I tell them that it's not a big deal. Like a loose doorknob, I'll catch something like that, or door stoppers.
Right.
But in my report, it would be minor. More like, hey, let's get to the main issues we found, the major issues.
Right.
That would be on the first 3 pages. So I just make it an emphasis not to scare away buyers or kill deals. Obviously as a home inspector, you're not supposed to, take sides or anything.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that would be my talent.
Well, our goal always, right, is to protect the consumer, protect the buyer, and make sure that they're comfortable with what they're buying.
Yeah.
We're buying homes. Some are built in 1948, so like they're not brand new construction. So I think it goes with the purchase price. Depending on what you're buying, know that there's going to be some repairs that are going to be necessary. But I think that you have to understand the inspection is one of the most important steps, because sometimes you only negotiate 5 to 10 days within that accepted contract, and then time is of the essence. You got to get the inspector there. The inspector has to do their due diligence, and then you have to get the report, and then your attorney negotiates those repairs. Your attorney, with the assistance of your realtor. I never just leave it up to the attorneys. I'm always very involved to make sure that the selling agent understands what's going on with that property. In some cases, we're going to negotiate repairs for some of the items that are broken. In some cases, the seller is going to make the repairs. But you always want to get a to-do list. You always want to know what you're getting into. In the case of a foundation, a lot of people are afraid of that because they don't want any water seepage into their basement, and that could be costly. Somebody doesn't have a huge budget. I mean, if you're a first-time buyer and you're buying with an FHA product and you're putting 3.5% down, you don't have the liquid assets to go in and fix an $8,000 crack, right? I mean, because the cost can be high. So it's not that we're like scaring people away. We just want to advise them
and educate them as to what's on. Because an inspection is optional. But I always tell my clients they should get it. It's not mandatory, right? But I always tell my clients to get it just to have peace of mind, right?
You have to do an inspection because you have to know what you're buying. And in the case of what you're saying, you want your clients to walk you through the process. I mean, I'm moving into a new place too, and this is my first time of having to, make decisions on my own. And now I need to know, like, okay, how do you change a filter? How do you work
the most basic
humidifier? I'm serious.
No, yeah.
I've never done this before.
I still don't know that.
I know.
And I'm on my 5th house.
But now I have to kind of figure this out on my own, right?
I people to do that, Karla.
To change a filter? When do you change a filter?
The husband's
every
job.
3 months?
That's what's recommended. You could do it every month if you want.
Oh, see,
and I
wasn't paying attention.
I recommend buying the cheapest filter as well too.
Really? I've been told the 30, how much is it? $34, and it lasts for 6 months.
No, but this you're changing more often if you buy a cheaper filter.
Exactly. Every month you're able to do that.
Okay, but then tell us why people should change their filter, though, because it's very important, because doesn't it have to do with the air quality in the space, and also like if you use a thick filter, it kind of damages your furnace?
It decreases the airflow to the air vents, the ducts. Getting a filter that's a little bit more thicker, but other than that, changing a filter is probably the most easiest thing you could probably do. No, it's okay. It was a good question.
Actually, he's going to come and replace for you.
Oh,
nice.
He
knows how to do it.
Yeah, I always point it out too, and the furnace filter size in my report.
For every client referral, you get to come over and change our filter. That's awesome.
I am that. I agree.
I'm negotiating that.
Filter man.
Let's go back to, where you're saying a lot of buyers get really afraid of this process, because it is very frightening, because you're looking at, say, some of the major items are like a furnace. And then you have the AC compressor, and then you have the windows, and then you have the roof. You have plumbing and electrical. Those are major components. We're not talking about a loose toilet, or we're not talking about, a broken window.
You want to know about the major
I want to know
issues.
about the not major issues, but the most costly items, because that means that I'm going to have to budget for that. I have a monthly carrying cost for my mortgage, but now, and then, money for down payment, but then now I need to allocate, say, $8,000 for a new tear-off roof, or, walk us through like the life expectancy of such items.
So the furnace is, the manufacturer life expectancy of that is 15 to 20 years. But once again, we got to remember that's what the manufacturer wants you to believe. At my house, I have a furnace from 1978, and it's still working. So it's just all about, normally 15 to 20 years, you'll get the gas furnace expectancy. Then a water heater is 10 to 15, stretching it 10 to 12 is good. And then the AC is 10 to 12. And I always recommend, make sure you cover your unit in the wintertime.
The AC compressor outside? It
is the easiest thing to do. It keeps debris out of the interior of the AC compressor, and it prolongs the longevity of it.
Love it.
And then we can always just get a coverage from our home warranty person here.
I was just going to say, I think the most common thing that scares the buyer is that they say it's at life expectancy, and they have to say that. But the reality doesn't mean that it's not working. It just means they need to let them know that. And that's a perfect time to get a home warranty. Now, if you were to say it's not working proper order, an HVAC person needs to come out, well, then it probably wouldn't be. But life expectancy, they can go on and on and on and work perfectly.
Right. And you don't want people to misinterpret what we're doing here today. Mm-hmm. One person is inspecting, the other person's warrantying it, right?
Post-closing.
And the reality is that there's been a lot of times when an inspector has gone out and looked at a water heater, looked at the fridge, looked at all sorts of items that are working just fine. Mm. Now, I actually sold a house. Probably not cool to say this. I did a rehab.
Go for it.
Well, it was mostly brand new kitchen, so there wasn't a problem there. But the inspector went out, and the the air conditioning unit was perfectly fine. We didn't need to touch it. He inspected it, so it was fine. Now, we had a good rapport with the buyer. He called us 3 weeks later saying it's broken. And, well, what do you want us to do? You bought the house as is. It worked fine when your inspector inspected it. And he's just trying to he was trying to sue the inspector, trying to sue his buyer's attorney. Like, all these people about his broken air conditioning, things happen. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes coincidentally, the day after you buy it, things happen, which is why you should still get a warranty on these things.
And that's why we always say it's important for you to do a home inspection, because, again, you only have 5 to 10 day window for you to assess the product and let everybody know what you need to negotiate, so you can negotiate a credit for repairs. But you said that this particular buyer bought it as is, meaning in the condition that you saw it.
It worked just fine. It wasn't even an issue. We had other inspection items that came up, but the air conditioning unit was not one of them.
Well, you have to understand power negotiations too, right? If you're working in a multiple bidding situation and you want this property, sometimes you're gonna leverage the fact that you're gonna take it. You're not gonna nickel and dime the seller for any credits for repairs, you're just going to take it as is, and that's what you negotiated. Right. You can't call the seller after you've closed, and you can't call the attorney because otherwise it's going to become a litigation issue.
I mean,
you're going to have to hire
them.
You can, but it does. It's there's.
And you're better off just fixing the unit than suing everybody, right?
Because of the costs associated with hiring an attorney.
For sure.
But that's why it's important. Someone like Denise, who provides home warranties, you can negotiate to have a home warranty. So you just said that a furnace or the life expectancy of an AC compressor, right, 15 to 20 years, what have you. So typically when you get the reports, you'll say something like towards the end of the life expectancy. It is at that point that you say, okay, well, it's towards the end. So that could be anywhere between 8, or maybe you get lucky like yourself and this thing works. You're not going to get credits for something that's not broken. If it's working, it's working. So you're not going to get credit.
Per the real estate contract, it says things that are at their life expectancy doesn't mean they have to be changed.
Correct. They just have, but as a buyer, I'm concerned that, holy cow, what happens if it breaks tomorrow and now I'm looking at an $8,000, right, expense? That's where you come in as a home warranty. Your warranties are anywhere between $300 to $500, and it covers all major mechanicals, correct?
Correct. We also have roof leak coverage as well. But, one of the misconceptions also is that I don't need a warranty because everything's only a couple years old, and that is so wrong. Actually, some of the newer stuff, because they just don't build things like they used to, that we're actually repairing or replacing more than the older items. So it really doesn't have to do with the age. It's just protection. Would you not have insurance? Health insurance, I mean, certainly you'd be fine, but I mean, would you not have insurance because, oh no, you know what, I'm not going to get sick? It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when is it going to happen.
Yeah, and it's more like workers' compensation, like something that's going to protect you in case it's not working. I've had situations where we do a home inspection and everything's fine, and then the day, like if you close at 10 a.m. and the place, like it stops working, like your refrigerator stops working at 10:05, that's your problem at this point. So it's cool that they can call you. And then how do you work that process? Like if my refrigerator doesn't work?
Well, they would call the toll-free number, and we would dispatch a contractor, and the contractor would go out there and they would determine whether it will be replaced or repaired depending on what's wrong with it. So, and that's normally within like 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on, when the homeowners could be available for us to go out.
Very important. We have somebody has a question for you. 5 things you should consider when hiring an inspector.
I'm going to call him Hamzi because I actually call one of my good friends Hamzi. So I'm
Hamzi.
That
one
works.
of my best friends, I'm like, hey, Hamzi.
Hamzi, the perfect.
There you go.
So the top 5.
What would you consider? What are some things to consider when hiring and looking for a home inspector? Because typically buyers would say, I would say, do you have a home inspector? And they'd say, oh, no, make a recommendation. So obviously it starts from me. But if I'm a consumer and I want to do my due diligence and I want to select my own inspector, so it's a biased third-party opinion, an assessment of the condition of the property, what would you recommend that they look for?
Real quick, I have a story. So I used a home inspector before, and goes to find out he's also like some radon mold mitigator too. And he goes up in the attic and he's like, oh my God, I got a headache. There's so much mold here. Like, there's just some people who are like that. And I've worked with Hamza plenty of times, and he's very calm and collective. And, and he does have the clients walk around with him, and he tells them, this is what you should look out for the future. This is what you should pay attention to. So,
well, I think inspectors are not allowed to say if they're not mold inspectors. Like if you you have to test for mold. Oh, right. He was okay. Was it's like kind of weird that they do that.
I know. It's that time. We have to ask a question.
Is that time of the year?
It is also known as the Nitro question.
Why are you?
Who's gonna the Nitro question this week will be brought to you by who? Who's the sponsor of the Nitro question?
Mimi.
All right.
Deluxe.
All right, Deluxe Group. Questions for you. Inspection. You don't have to answer it right now. I'm going to ask you a question. You think about it, and we'll come back to you about 10, 15 minutes from now. What is the most effed up situation you've ever seen where you literally just want to drop everything that you're doing, just walk up to the buyer and be like, don't you dare buy this house? I'll make it very simple, right? And we can't leave Denise out of the Nitro question. We have to give you something. So we don't normally do 2 Nitro questions. We do 1.
Where does she get her shoes?
Do you ever come to the houses and see them before the No, you just
we don't. We highly encourage an inspection, but we don't require it. So no, I don't go.
Tell us what you think is one of the most ludicrous claims that someone's ever tried to put in on a warranty, home warranty.
I could probably answer that real quick.
We don't want to hear now.
I should know the answer.
Give you a few minutes. Maybe you can think of something even better.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So if the inspector finds something wrong with something you're going to insure, does that work against it? Like, per the inspection, it already said it was bad, so we're not going to cover it. Like, how does that work?
Pre-existing conditions?
Right.
Yeah, pre-existing. Yeah. It has to be in working proper order. And which always scares me, because sometimes when they find it, that's when an uneducated realtor might say, hey, let's get a warranty, but it's not in working proper order. So if they were to call a claim, and if our contractor goes out and it's obvious that a week ago or even a day ago it wasn't working, we do reserve the right to ask for the inspection. So depending on what it is, I mean,
really?
Can I tell you
didn't
that
know
a lot
that.
of people put claims in of things that are broken and it's covered? Oh, absolutely, it happens all the time. But if there's a water heater and there's watermarks and there's mold, we know that it didn't happen in a day.
Right.
So we will ask for the inspection. And if there's no inspection, then the denial stays. If we see the inspection,
that's crazy that people do anything. So you do. That's a great question, because I wouldn't think to do that. I mean, water heater. And again, you have to also work with the realtor that kind of understands cost associated. I can say that I know pricing for everything, but given the fact that I work with investors who flip properties or rehab, I mean, I kind of have an idea, like a boiler, $500, but then labor is most costly. It will cost the most. But you just have to be very careful with what you're quoting, because it's going to add up eventually. Let's go back to the questions about the 5 things that people should really consider when hiring an inspector.
Actually, the number 1 has to be make sure that they are certified.
Ooh.
Okay. And
you mean I can't do an inspection?
No. And
why would somebody not be certified though?
There's so much we should be able to.
And
right?
your
I
dad's
wouldn't do an
cousin's
inspection.
aunt who put up a couple drywalls, called it a day.
Yeah.
I do not recommend going with anyone that's not licensed in the state of Illinois. Number 1.
What are the requirements to get licensed?
They could find out on their own. I don't want to get more home inspectors out there, more competition. So, Google it.
You have to have a name, Hamzi.
Yeah. And, I consider myself the best home inspector ever.
There you go.
In the history
That's
of home
awesome. In the history.
I truly do. And I always learn. I mean, you're always learning, But the number 2 part, or the number 2 most important thing that a buyer should consider is if they're detail oriented. I hear stories that inspectors finish a home that should take 2 hours in 45 minutes. Now think about that. Did they really open up every window? Did they test and inspect for gas leaks? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like buyers get cheated because sometimes, they feel like the realtor who's connected with the home inspector, they're planning regardless, against, to get a deal.
You're just
closed.
planning on the side of the sale versus the side of the buyer.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely, the inspector should be detail oriented, and everything in a home, it needs to be checked. That's my philosophy.
So you're opening up every window?
Every window. I am checking every receptacle. I climb into attics, and that is my favorite part of the inspection.
And he does it in 2 hours time.
I have lived in my house for over 20 years, and I haven't even opened up over a third of the windows. And I've never seen the inside of my attic. And I don't think I've changed the filter, by the way.
God, Nick, I don't think that would be your job anyway.
I'm just saying. So that's
Somebody's
amazing
in there
that you do all
changing
that
the
stuff.
filter.
I do.
So let's keep it moving forward. Number 3.
Make sure that they promise what they deliver, or make sure they deliver what they promise you. In that regards, I mean, send the inspection report within a reasonable time frame. Make sure I always have clients call me after the inspection. I always recommend it because when you're going through 50 pages of reports, you're not going to understand everything. Like, it's impossible.
Right, but if you're walking them through the process here's another thing. I think it depends on the buyer or the person, right? Because I'm actually the type of person that says leave him alone, let him do his job and do his due diligence versus trying to educate you through everything. And then towards the end, we're going to walk through the property with you so you can summarize that report or give us a presentation of what you found. Because I don't want to be like, hey, asking you questions. And I hate that. When realtors are on top of my inspectors, asking them questions like, how long have you been in the business? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Because I'm like, okay, can you let them focus on what they're here to do, which is to do the home inspection? It's just so annoying, and I can see right through it.
Asking a home inspector how long they've been doing it.
Well, I mean, I'd rather that
question.
they leave you alone, you do your job, do your due diligence, and just walk me through what you found, rather than like go ahead and like let me teach you how to do this right now, because you're taking off the panel, right, and you're looking through the electrical panel, and you're doing your due diligence. I mean, why do I need to like be there, right? Although I do have some buyers who are, very interested because they know how this stuff works and operates. I'm like not interested because I don't know. And as a realtor, I never say I'm an inspector. Right. When I'm looking at the property, they're looking and they're falling in love with the space. They're like, oh, it's got a separate dining room, or it is not. Oh, it's got beautiful views. I'm looking for shadows in the ceilings to see if there are any shadows, because that's sign of water. At some point, maybe it's dark at this point, but was it fixed, or is it still wet? Like, what are you finding? If we're in the basement, and sometimes even in new construction or rehab products, they'll go ahead and paint everything, but then they'll miss the closet, right? Behind the stairs closet or the furnace closet. And I'm looking for that stain at the bottom, like a 1 foot below, like by the ground. You're like, okay, so you guys painted this whole entire basement. You put new carpet, but you forgot that there is water damage because, when was the water? How was it fixed? Was it remediated? Did it have like drain tiles? Or, is there a sump pump? Was it a failure? So you start asking more questions.
An inspector develops into a detective,
right? And you become you need to like,
because sellers, nothing against them, but you can't mess with their money. Like, whatever they're trying to sell the house for, they want to sell the house for that price. An inspection, sometimes you can negotiate it down, but they feel, I've run into many different inspections where there's certain things that were concealed intentionally,
right?
And a lot of inspectors have limitations. They can't see behind a wall because a bunch of storage items are there. But I normally find the things that they try to hide. Like,
and it's crazy when they try to hide things, because like for a crack on the foundation, typically it is that if you find one on one side, you're always going to find one on the other side. So you have to do your due diligence, right? Is that true?
Yeah, as well as the in crawl spaces. Mm-hmm. I am in there climbing with 16 inches.
He's so excited about being in that 16
I put on this amazing suit.
Yes.
Yeah, like there's a crawl space.
My crawler suit.
Yeah, I got a headlight. I am so into it.
You
got the little lamp on the head.
Yeah, I
like,
got the face mask where you could only see.
Can we focus? So when you're looking at analyzing a crack, crack, if it's like, like a zigzag, it's okay. But if it's a straight crack, that's
any crack. Horizontal cracks are probably the worst ones. But the vertical,
I prefer vertical.
The vertical cracks, they're bad regardless.
Not really. I'm sorry. I had to go there.
Oh my God. This show has never, ever been serious.
I couldn't even hold myself.
It's an inspection. This is I'm buying a $400,000, $500,000 house.
I want to educate the buyers with one thing, though. In the attic space, mold is like a really big deal, but it's the most common issue.
It's a very normal thing. I actually got educated on mold about 2 years ago.
You are mold.
Thank you.
Oh,
and
so yeah.
like everyone hears it and they act like it's I don't know, something biochemical war thing.
It is though,
and it's
So
everywhere.
Has anyone ever died
Everybody
from
is
mold?
always ingesting mold all day long.
there's mold in your bathroom.
There's
like
mold
if there's
outside
not a
when you
lot
walk
of
outside. You're inhaling mold right when you walk outside.
every time I'm around you, I'm inhaling mold.
Yes.
But it's kind of over exaggerated by people.
Yeah.
They hear mold and they're like, I gotta walk. And it's
Absolutely.
like,
But
it's
that
not-
real hairy mold like scares you. Like if you've been in a house like that, it's really like the live mold. Is that what that's called? Yeah.
But normally, what I see is dead mold.
Right.
that's the most common.
Yeah, and condensation, staining. on
That's in the
sheeting.
restrooms, right? In the bathroom where there's not proper
The
ventilation.
Off the
Yeah.
roof.
Where would you grade this on the importance level? Like,
They would need to know about it because mold.
no, I mean, as far as like maybe you should consider leaving this property.
No.
Not at all.
No, but when you like going back to the water seepage, and if there's a crack, right, they're trying to hide it, they'll paint it, whatever. I tend to like start itching. If I'm in a home that has been like vacant for a long time and there's like mold, like I seriously start. I'm like, okay, I'm not that I'm not going to go to the basement, but I can start to say, all right, there's going to be issues with this property.
Well, I think-
I don't like to buy properties that have water seepage.
But I think
I just don't.
Us as realtors, when we walk in a property, we can smell that. Like we've already been trained. Like we can smell what the
Well,
water.
I went
like,
into a flip and it was perfect. You couldn't see anything, but I could feel like I could start. I'm like, okay, there's something here. Like I'm allergic to it. I like.
I don't think that's a thing, Karla.
It is
I
a
don't-
thing,
No,
actually. Yes.
No.
If you're sensitive, I have very sensitive skin. I'm sorry. I should be an inspector. I'm getting a license.
You need a
You better
fancy
not.
crawl suit.
You got
Yeah.
the best one here.
You're not dressed right. for
I'm
the
not
inspection.
dressed properly
So-
for inspection.
There was a number. Well, you gave a number one. I think you gave us 4
Two.
though.
Yeah,
four.
Two.
No, he gave us
Three.
more than. He gave us 3.
Yeah.
Right.
But
4.
it's yeah,
3 or
but
4.
you can we go back and talk about you were saying that a lot of sellers want to hide things when they're trying to sell a property.
Right.
Do you recommend that sellers get a home inspection before they list their home so that they're aware of what some of the issues that may handicap them from selling their home later?
I've been trying this avenue for pre-listing inspections, but in my career, only one person was.
And that's where
interested in
your realtor should come in as well. I mean, I come in and not only do I give staging recommendations, but I always say, okay, we need to fix that. We need to fix this. Because remember, some things that may be as easy as just painting, right? A buyer's going to come in and say, oh, wow, no, that was never fixed. Give me $5,000 off the list price. Because they don't understand the costs associated with fixing or repairing these things. So they're going to ask for the most, right? Ask for 5, maybe you'll settle at 2. So as a seller, you should be, knowledgeable about what's going on. Because like you said, you've never been in your attic before.
Heck no.
So God knows if like Lydia has dead bodies up
I
there.
don't even know where the furnace is.
Are you serious?
I think I know where it is.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of
Do you
noise
get
on
it
the phone.
serviced once a year? You have to get your service. God,
You could answer
how
that.
old are you in life?
It-
I forgot.
Functions great.
Mommy and Daddy take care of those things for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's so scary though. Like, okay, so seriously, I have to worry about these things. What else do you tell somebody that's
I don't think
never?
you have to worry about them.
What are
if
you
it
talking
stops
about?
working, then no.
No, you have to be proactive.
Right.
You can't just
So-
live. You have to take care of your property, right?
Well, no,
Agree,
hold on. You
yeah.
don't have to worry about anything because you got a home warranty on all this stuff.
Right.
Just wait
You
till
know?
it breaks.
So let
Don't
me-
do
let me-
maintenance.
Let's get into that real quick because we started covering everything from light sockets missing to cracks, vertical and horizontal.
You know that?
We definitely went over cracks.
Entire,
We
yeah.
got deep in the cracks. But does the warranty cover everything, like from left to right? From a window to a microwave.
No, it's actually the mechanicals.
Yeah.
So above the foundation, within the 4 walls, we do have roof coverage that's optional, but we wouldn't do sprinkler systems. We wouldn't do things outside the home. So it's the major mechanicals. The
So you
furnace,
have to
washer,
clean your
dryer,
own gutters.
What if I
Yeah.
bought a relatively brand new house, so it's 2 years old? Then there's a crack in the foundation.
Foundations aren't covered by. It's above ground. So it wouldn't have anything to do with that.
So, I'm sorry, did you say electrical and stuff like that?
Electrical, plumbing, sump pump. Your furnace, your washer, dryer, refrigerator.
All plumbing.
Yeah.
And it's full replacement or just repair?
It depends on, what's going to be more economical. I mean, like if we went out to do a furnace and there was a part that was needed that's about $500 and it's of life expectancy, we're probably going to replace it because, it's an older unit. Now, if it's a newer unit and that $500 will make it work properly, we probably would actually change out the parts. So it really depends on the ratio of how old it is, what the cost is of the replacement. What they'll do is, a lot of the inspectors will know exactly, or inspectors, our contractors will know, hey, it's a $100 part. Go ahead and replace it. But if it's a bigger item, they call in and there's people in front of the computer and they figure it out. They see what our price is. And we might just replace it.
And when you replace it, do you go from like the same kind of quality, the same expense?
It's got to be like for like. We'll give them a choice.
More expensive.
Yeah, we'll give them a choice. We'll never downgrade. We'll say, do you want to cash out? Or do you want us to replace it?
Ooh.
Okay. Now, there's some people that have the kitchens and maybe they have the avocado refrigerator. And although in my lifetime that's come back 3 times, I think.
Avocado refrigerator?
Avocado refrigerator, the orange or the gold. But they want to start replacing for stainless. So they'll want to cash out.
Yeah.
So we'll give them a gift card that'll have the value. And then they can go to Lowe's or wherever and pick up something.
That makes sense.
This is essentially a case where you're protecting yourself with more protection. You get the inspection to see what's wrong with the property or something you should really be nervous about and make sure you're not buying a lemon, if you will. And then you get a warranty just to make sure that in case the inspector missed something or something broke after he went out there or he or she went out there, then you're covered anyways.
Exactly. That's why the topic is how to protect your investment, Nick.
So a huge misconception is people think if it's a new property or a newly built property, they shouldn't get an inspection, right? But sometimes you find a lot of things wrong with this newly built
You're only given
places.
I think typically on a brand new built construction, you get a 1-year warranty from the builder. But then you need to really be concerned about what happens on the 366th day.
Right.
Okay, so then can you buy a warranty after you've closed?
We have a new
age limit?
To answer your thing for we do have a new construction that you would purchase at closing and it wouldn't start till day 366. It would cover for 3 years.
Oh.
Okay, and it's discounted.
Look at that.
That's what
There
you're
you
getting.
go.
It's called the Nick 366 plan.
There you go.
We just created it right here.
How is everything Nick?
I just came up with it.
How
I
is
said
it Nick
366
related?
day, and then she brings
There
it up
you
right
go.
after I said it.
We're a team,
I
tell
own
ya.
that. I trademarked
You
it.
own that?
It's Nick 366 from here on out.
I like it.
There you go.
Only at Fidelity National Home Warranty. Ask for the Nick 366.
I forgot what your question was.
I don't have a
Actually,
question.
okay.
I guess at this
But that
point
was-
it doesn't matter. The Nick world, the Nick universe.
But again, the misconception is because it's new, it's not going to break down. And that
Agree.
is so untrue.
What about if I'm buying a house that's 75 years old? You guys are just coming in and saying, no problem, we'll pay for a 1-year warranty.
as long as it was in working proper order?
they're
going
to give you a
started.
$50 voucher for
what
that
triggers-
refrigerator.
Well, no, you guys send
Big
somebody
one.
out to. Let me just understand this. I bought a house, 75 years old. Pretty decent inspection report. I mean, some stuff that you should understand would be there with a 75-year-old home. But then, do you guys come out to inspect the house?
We do
No,
not.
I just buy a warranty and then.
Yeah, you can do it over
Right.
the phone.
I'm gonna go
It's
buy it.
pretty
on,
obvious
Nick
if it wasn't
366.
working, but
Yeah, you
know.
can tell when something hasn't worked in a year.
Yeah,
and a half.
I mean they could definitely tell
Right.
if it has, but no, I just don't. For the cost of a warranty, one thing breaks down, pays for it. I just don't get why more people wouldn't do it. I mean, although we sell a lot of them, there's still that person that says, no, you know what, everything's working proper order. Case in point is, somebody could be single and they're selling their home. A family moves in, and you have different habits. You have, you're putting the faucet on more, so you're using the washer more. Just that habit change, something can happen, and it doesn't come up in the inspection. It's a legit claim because of a difference of
the way you're using the product.
in the
Yeah.
house.
I do have a question. So when you buy that warranty, is there a cost for them to come out and check the property? Like, it's not you just paid that $500 up front and then you have to pay for them to come out.
I'm sure there's like a
There is
deductible.
there's a deductible of $65, and that's for them to drive out there and do a professional diagnosis. So yes, $65 they would pay each time. Now, if you had 2 items that were the same contractor, say a washer and a dishwasher, that's the same contractor coming out that same day, you only pay the $65. But if your furnace breaks down and your washer does, that's
so
2
when I
different
call you, I
rates.
got to make sure that I get all the appliances checked for the same deductible. Love it. And you're learning how to protect your biggest investment here on Market Overdrive. We're here every Thursday at 2 o'clock, so make sure you tune in. Follow us on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Facebook and, of course, our private inboxes. If you have any questions or would like to be a part of the show or have questions for us or would like to work with either Nick or myself, you can email us at info@marketoverdrive.com. Question for you, Humzy. There's other inspections, not just the property.
We got a question. They got to hurry up and answer their questions too. Don't forget that.
Yes. Okay. Can I? So,
go ahead.
Not just like the property inspection, but what about radon inspections?
I recommend that as well.
Everywhere?
Minus Chicago.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I thought that if you're closer to a large body of water. So can you explain what radon is?
So basically what radon is, it's a gas that is derived from uranium, and it's natural causing. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. It's just there.
So it's an odorless gas that's in the soil, right?
In the soil.
Radon.
Yeah. And
Odorless.
the EPA sets guidelines to everyone, 4.0 or 3.9 to be technical, or lower, it is okay. The radon levels are fine. But if it's over 3.9, it needs to be mitigated. And in newer construction homes, you find a passive mitigation system, basically a PVC pipe that runs to the foundation of the basement inside and then all the way through the attic.
And it's got to be to the highest level where there's no window so the gas doesn't go back into the home. So it could be as pretty as a white PVC pipe, or it could be a very expensive gadget, right, to mitigate it.
Yeah, like
that
an
matches
attic fan.
through, right, that
It's
matches.
basically.
Right.
But
so the mitigation, you can mitigate these, radon. So it's up to you, right? If you're going to be using that basement, if you're buying a single family house and you're going to be living and your kids are going to be hanging out in the family room, I say go ahead and do it. But also just understand the logistics with it, right? You could always mitigate it. I mean, they're like $500 to $3,000 depending on the system that you want to buy.
$1,500 actually, and it's really, I'd say it's probably the best thing you could do is to have a radon test.
I have a question. So why not in Chicago? So why do you not recommend that it be that we do radon inspections in Chicago?
Built on sand.
I'm sorry?
Clay and sand. So the foundation, it's not soil. Look, as close as you can get to the lake, obviously it's sand. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to have levels high. Like with clay, you're not going to have high radon levels. But soil and gravel, gases are able to rise through those spaces.
Cool.
And if you have foundation,
so would you I mean, I don't know. I think I had high levels of radon in Hyde Park before though. So I don't know. I would just say like how much is a radon inspection?
On average,
yeah.
$200.
Like $200, right? They come in, they enclose the space, you leave the gadget in there for 48 hours.
48 hours.
48. You can't open any windows, so it's just like taking
doors.
Or doors, right? So they have to do the inspection. $200 over a lifetime that you're going to be in this house, and and you're not concerned that there may be high levels. I mean, I would just say do it.
It's the second leading.
I mean, that's $200 is like lunch for Nick every day, right?
Yummy. Questions. We have to answer these questions.
All right. What? Go ahead, ask.
Well, we asked the nitro questions. Now it's time to come back and get our answers. So, your question, Humzy, was...
Humzy.
What is the most... I think I specifically said, what's the most effed up thing you've ever seen that you want to absolutely tell a client, like you want to stop the inspection, just get out of here? You don't have to give us the address or the name of the client. You can just give us a scenario that you've seen.
Yeah. So this property was in Elgin.
Okay.
And I rolled up there.
He rolled up.
He rolled up.
He rolled up.
I have a pretty big toolbox, so it's rolling with me.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's
you saw that.
It's like a case.
Right?
It's like my kids' hockey equipment.
Digging
it's
in the cracks.
And he brought a chair for the realtor to sit down. I was like, oh my God, do you have red carpet?
Wait, can you tell he's used to working with the diva?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
So I treat every client as if I was buying the home.
Oh.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And so I just feel like seeing this new couple with a newborn baby and seeing the home that they were going to be building or purchasing, right. I literally just stared at the stone foundation. It was 1900 built home, and the home was in the most significant like stages of collapse. Like it was really bad. And for you not to notice that, anyone.
Who the heck was the realtor?
You don't have to be an inspector.
We're not going to mention names.
We said not to mention names.
No, but I truly just pulled them both aside. And I said, do you see what I am seeing? Is there water in the foundation? Is there, this or that occurring? And she said, yeah, and I didn't even step foot inside yet.
You didn't even break out the white suit that goes into the crawl space.
Yeah.
You didn't even touch the cracks yet.
Right.
You just wanted to kill this deal because you knew this was a disaster.
For the clients, and buying a home is a really big deal.
It's scary, especially the newborn and all
expensive.
that stuff.
This is ethics law. Come on.
I guess in our business, though, we don't like to say kill the deal. Right?
No, kill the deal. I would look at my inspector. I work with Ed Oakrey, and I said, Ed, would you buy this home? Like, okay, here's the scenario. My client is X, Y, and Z, and maybe she doesn't have the funds to fix this later. Would you recommend that she buy this? And in 2 occasions, he told my clients no, because sometimes clients don't listen to the realtor. They're so enamored by the location, the schools, blah, blah, blah. I wanted Karla, I wanted, and I'm looking at like, yeah, they're like the neighbor.
Everybody wants to move in next door to me. The house is terrible.
Sure. God, are we still on like Nick's buzz? Because it's still your birthday. It's over.
Piece of the Nick 366.
Anyway, I have a client. She's buying a $65,000 property, single family, and it's seriously in good condition. Like inside, obviously it needs work, but everything else works, like the mechanicals. So it just depends. You do need to do a home inspection, and you can't just make people or tell people to buy something just so they can buy. That's crazy.
So my favorite thing is when people are like, well, my brother-in-law, he does construction. Like, he can do it. And you're like, you need a licensed one if we're going to hold it up with the attorneys and go through it all.
That's
it
crazy.
Needs to come from professional licensed
And
inspector.
Denise had a nitro question. What is the most, we'll stick with the word effed up, claim you've ever seen in the warranty world?
Well, in general, what I get a lot is when they don't get an inspection and they say, but the seller said that everything was in working proper order. And you have to say, okay, well, let me ask you a question. Do you think the seller wanted to sell their house? And have them think about, well, would the seller really tell you if something wasn't in working order? So I think it's just more general that they believe the seller that things were working and they won't get the inspection. And so then, of course, it's our fault, that we're not covering it because it wasn't in working proper order. So that's kind of just a general effed up thing that we get a lot because then it's more our problem.
Right.
And it's like, no, you really should have invested in the inspection and not believe the seller.
Of course, who's gonna? You're obviously.
I was kind of looking for like somebody wanted their in-ground pool swimming slide repaired because somebody broke it.
I
something
have
like
had.
that.
I actually had
the
on
coffee
an
machine in the
ice
bathroom.
maker was missing,
What?
and the one realtor told, "Oh, that's okay. We'll get a home warranty." And then the other agent was actually a very good client of mine and very well educated about warranties. He's like, "No, they don't replace things that are missing." And so there was this big fight about that. I'm like, no, we don't replace things. So, I mean, it's things like that, things that are missing and just totally misconceptions of how the warranty works.
Great information. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I mean, everybody's always concerned about these things. You were talking about the radon, but also what about the lead inspections?
So
Lead tastes good.
Is that what you ate as a kid?
Mm-hmm. Lead-based paint. Lead-based paint Cheerios.
With lead water mains,
Oh God!
it's easily identifiable.
You could tell this kid grew up in the city, right? Consuming lead,
And
like
he was
seriously,
the one picking it off the stairs,
and hanging out with mold friends. I think you like mold little.
So lead.
You have 10 days to do a risk assessment for lead, right?
So as a home inspector, I am able to identify if the water main is lead based or is lead not based. With a big, so you see the water meter, and right below the water meter, there's a water line. And if that water line has a bulge right before, yeah. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to also point out real quick that, I use an infrared thermal imaging camera for finished spaces. and ceilings, and there's no like that tool has saved me from so many missed issues.
I'm laughing at this, but it's serious business, right? Because a lot of these buildings, like in the high rises of Chicago, like downtown Streeterville areas, I mean, they're not replacing all the plumbing. So your water is coming in through these lead pipings. But I mean, the cost associated with all this to replace all this piping, it's so expensive. So can a homeowner replace, like, what do we do?
I always recommend to go section by section. That is if you have galvanized piping and low water pressure,
then you know there's issues, right?
Definitely. Repair or replace with copper pipes in by sections.
Okay, so
and it's the cheapest way to do it. So like in 2-3 years, be done.
That makes sense. I mean, you have to do that because just think about the water you're consuming, and because even if you're boiling the water, you're still consuming. You're taking showers, and you're still taking that into your body. So going back to the lead inspections, if a property was built before 1978, right, the paint had lead in it, so that's why we recommend that you do a risk assessment. But unless you're going to be eating it or something, I don't even know how much does a lead inspection cost. You recommend those, right? I don't want to go on record saying I don't recommend one.
I don't recommend them, but as a first-time home buyer,
just
it's up to
become knowledgeable.
If a house is built before 1978, they all have lead, right?
Well, the
lead paint, right?
The paint had lead in it, so if they're painting,
that tells you
if this is lead,
right.
yeah.
But any house born before 1978 has it.
Correct. You assume that it did. But you know how many people have painted new layers of paint? So, I mean, what are you going to do? Especially in the vintage homes, right? If we're seeing some of the areas that are changing and you're changing infrastructure or you're just, you're doing facelifts, I would definitely recommend it. But otherwise, it's expensive.
Same with asbestos.
Asbestos. How do you say that?
Asbestos.
Asbestos, yes.
Or asbestos.
There you go.
But another thing, the lender does, the lender, they check on stuff like that, right? The appraisal. The appraisal
will make.
Yeah.
It'll address.
So it kind of covers you as well before having.
That's on an FHA product. You're going to have an inspection appraisal that does an inspection.
I mean, they're not as thorough as he is.
Right.
But they do catch things.
Stuff.
But can you address the difference?
I mean, the obvious, like lead-based paint. If they'll know that. They could see that stuff. You could literally see. They're not going to pull out cameras and go through crawl spaces and.
Right. So we're not saying lean on that, but you have that extra.
But you all have an extra layer, even
it's
like roof
layer,
and
but
shingles.
It's rare that it's rare that if you have a thorough inspector, that an appraiser is going to catch more things than the inspector.
No.
We're not saying that they are. We're just saying that there's that other level of checks and balances, right? So
some people rely on just the appraisal. They don't even get an inspection, which I think is
that's
foolish.
crazy.
Well,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when they are doing this asbestos, right? The tile. There's some tile in the basement that may have asbestos. They used to use it in the paint, and then there's piping.
The piping,
and that's. I mean, you have when you mitigate it.
Noticeable.
You can see
that as a good realtor.
Correct. So there's a lot of things that you can do to protect your largest investment, and you can get this information. If you know somebody that's buying, go ahead and share our video with them. Encourage them to call you. Humzy, where can they get a hold of you if they wanted to do a home inspection?
They could call me directly at 630-363-4696. I have a website as well. My first and last name, humza.khan@pillartopost.com.
Great. What about you, Denise?
Our website is homewarranty.com, and my contact information is 847-812-7662.
Awesome. What's your phone number, Nick? You're not paying attention ever.
I'm totally paying attention. Phone number to the office is 773-977-7000.
Look at that. Mimi, where can we get a hold of you?
All social media, and my phone number is 708-271-5613.
Love it. Love you guys. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us today. You can always reach us at, Nick?
Market Overdrive, info at marketoverdrive.com, or follow us live every Tuesday. Live every Thursday. Live every Thursday at 2 p.m. right here on Facebook /Market Overdrive, or go to our podcast, WGN Radio Family. Subscribe to that bad boy. And if you miss it on all three of those, you could take your butt over to YouTube, and everything is cataloged nice and fresh on a weekly basis with all the topics and all the fun stuff that we've done over the last year or so. See you then. See you next week, Thursday, 2 p.m. Bye.